Now, this is one of my favourite trees here in my local woodlands, and I've captured almost every other element here, but I've been quite unsuccessful in capturing this beauty in what I would like to put down on a photo. Now, it's surrounded by so much woodland and trees and shrubbery and everything that I've always struggled to control the chaos that's around, which is pretty much one of the big problems within woodland photography. But the technique I'm going to be employing today in the round, also known as the Ventosa technique, is hopefully going to give me what I'm searching for with this tree. Now, it's a very simple technique. In its execution, the work afterwards on the computer can be a little bit more involved, but we'll talk about that later. But all we need to do is be able to walk around the subject. Now, this tree is absolutely perfect for it, because even though it's surrounded by woodlands and shrubbery, it's got quite a large section for me to walk around and take photos. Now, as I said, I'm going to be walking around this tree. That's part of the main element of the in the round photos. Whether it's a tree or any other subject that you look at, you need to be maintaining a relatively basic composition, but maintain that composition throughout every photo. So when they stack on top of each other, they're as much in line as possible. Conditions really matter as far as I'm concerned, particularly with woodland. You can have a sunny day, you can have a cloudy day, you can have a misty day, you can have a snowy day. The technique applies to any sort of weather, and you don't need loads of kit. I'm going to be hand holding today. I've got VR lens on just because it's a little bit dark, boost the ISO a little bit, but in probably 15-20 minutes I could be taking all these photos and getting back to the computer to work on them. So to take today's photo, I'm going to be using my 16-35. It's got VR, so that I can just go around hand holding each shot as I go around. Like I said, 30-40, we'll see how it goes. Ideally, flat land helps, but we're on the side of a hill here, so there is a little bit of slope. So it does mean that in the composition element, we are going to get a little bit of chopping and changing, but I think that's just actually going to add to the effect as well, so let's not worry too much about that. One of the things that I really love about this technique is it's almost like long exposure photography. I'm not a fan of ICM so much. It's an element of that, because we're moving the camera intentionally as we go around, but it's almost like all these photos concatenated together to make one long exposure of the motion of the tree, its surroundings. The results can really be quite absolutely stunning. Now, for me, the order of the shots isn't necessarily important, i.e. where we start and where we finish. Depending on the day, if you've got more light to one place, you can pick and choose that, but as we're blending so much, I don't think it matters a great deal. Even some of the shots, even if they don't come out sharp, it's not really that much of an issue, because we're going to be applying so much blending to the technique that it might even add to the effect as well. Just be creative, go around the subject, take as many photos as you're comfortable with. The more the merrier to a degree, but I would say 30-40. Don't forget to leave enough breathing space for when you're stacking, because you might need to crop some edges out due to the amount of layers that we're going to be having on top of each other. Anyway, enough of the talking. Let's get the camera out and start going around this tree. Right, so as you can see, that was relatively simple. You just need to be careful as you're walking around that you're not tripping over anything, and that's probably the most hazards that you'll get in this sort of photography. Now, I've taken a few. I did some verticals as well as I did some portraits as well as landscapes as well, and we've got quite a few shots to go through, so this should be quite cool. So I'm heading back now to put these on the computer, and we'll talk through the stacking process, and if I find any more interesting subjects on the way back, I'll give them a shot with this too as well, and we'll stick them in. Okay, so we've got all our photos copied over onto the computer, and here's the first set that I did. Now, as you can see, they're changing in lightness to darkness. That's because, rather silly me, I forgot to take off bracketing, but I'm not actually bothered because that may add to the effect and may not. So we're going to process these photos anyway. So in Photoshop, we go to File, Scripts, Load Files into Stack, press Browse. So we're going to select our photos here and press OK. So we're not bothered with aligning sources. We're going to do that manually, and we're not bothered with creating smart objects either. So just hit OK, and Photoshop will now load all our photos up into a stack on the right hand side here. Now we've got around 33 photos here, so it's going to take a few minutes just to get them up and running. So
we'll skip through to the next bit now. Okay, so that's all 36 photos here loaded up into the stack, into layers. Now, you can also see down here that it's a large file, 9.14 gig. So we will be working on that. So just get rid of our crop tool there. Now, as you can see, we've got the first photo I took at the top and it's going down to the last photo I took at the bottom. I actually want to flip that. So with the first layer selected, press Shift and click to select all layers, and then Layer, Arrange, Reverse. So that has now arranged our layers in the reverse order. So the first photo that we've got is at the bottom, going to the last photo that we took up to the top. Now, there are several ways to turn these layers off in one go. There's a fun way of doing it, which is if you click and hold the mouse on the eye, and you can drag up and down, and you can drag over them to select or deselect, and vice versa. You can do the same to turn them back on. But what we want to do is just have the bottom layer visible first. So with the layer selected, press Alt on your keyboard and click on the eye. That will turn off every other layer other than the one we've just selected. Now, to help get our alignment levels straight and just generally quite balanced, if you haven't got the rulers on your computer screen up here, you can go to View and Rulers, Control R. So what we want to do is drag a line in for the center of the tree, or where that's going to be, and I like to use one for where the base of the tree is going to be, so roughly around there. So that as we turn each layer on, we can work with moving the tree so that it's in roughly the same place as the original composition as well. So we'll start off with number 1. So turn on the visibility of that layer and ignore the darker photo, the underexposure, because like I said, they are bracketed. It was a minor error, but it might work in our favor, it might not. So move the center of the tree over. I'm quite happy with the base. It's in roughly the same place, so that's fine. It doesn't have to be perfect, just a good balance, so that when we blend the layers, the effect becomes really, really quite nice. So again, do that on every layer as you go along. Obviously, I was quite good at keeping the base in roughly the same place. That's quite good. So move the trees on each layer. So there we are. That's all the layers aligned to these guides that I made on the first photo. So as you can see in for this photo as well, I mentioned that we were on a hill. So you can see that the slope is kicking in the background there. We're going to be fixing that a little bit after. But first of all, let's blend these layers in. So with the top layer selected, come all the way down, select everything with Shift and left click, but we don't want the bottom layer to be selected. And then with that, this is where the magic happens. Click your opacity slider and just start bringing it down. And as you can see on the screen, everything starts becoming, until we go to 0, everything starts becoming this wonderful mix of a wonderful shot. So that's quite nice. I think I'm going to keep that around there, 13, 14. So as you can see, we've got the full rotation of the tree kicking in, but the ground still looks nice. We've got some nice ghostly images of this tree going on. We have got some angles coming up on the left here, but we'll sort that in a second because we want to just quickly sort out this crop in here. In fact, what we'll do, we'll flatten the image first because I'm very happy with this, how the blend has gone. It's 9.61 gig, so we're just going to flatten the entire image to free up a little bit of RAM and space. And to be honest, now that we've done the blend, it's not really that essential anymore. So we can clear our guides as well. So View, Guides, Clear Guides. Now I want to sort out these trees because it was a wide angle shot and because we're on a hill, everything is pointing in towards the center a little bit. The main tree itself is quite nice, but we'll jump into Filter, DxO Labs and Viewpoint 5. A great little tool if you haven't got it. It is worth having a look at. So we've gone into Viewpoint 5 and what we've got here is an auto option for distortion. It's going to ask me for the original file so that it can get the camera information. So we press Open, select the first one. A little bit of a change there. Now we didn't need to do that, but I just like to do it out of autopilot. But what we're going to do now is we're going to work on our perspective. So it won't do this automatically because it's going to turn around and say there's too much or not enough, whatever reason. But we can do our verticals because we're not really interested in a great deal more other than straightening these trees up. So if we just drag these up here like so, and then just draw. So I'm using my eye here to bring this line up against that tree there, and I'll do the same along here. So as you can see, these lines sort of show what I'm talking about in the sense that everything is wider at the bottom and pointing up to a thinner area towards the top. So if you preview that, you'll take the photo, and as you can see, it's straightened all these trees up with limiting the amount of cropping that's being done to the rest of the photo. So I'm going to press apply on that because I'm very happy with that. And then press save. And there we have it. Very nice. It looks much better. So the one thing that I'm going to do as well is to add a little bit of pop because it's a little bit flat in the color effects recipes that they have. These presets, they do lots of different ones. There's some cool ones. Now, I've already got some saved, but I do like clarity bump because it adds a little bit more zhuzh to the whole thing. The green might be a little bit too heavy, but we'll come back. Some of the colors just look really nice if you want to go for a more artistic approach to different things. Check it out if you're interested. It is really quite fun. Oop, bit faster. That's quite a nice one. I quite like that. I do like my soft and greeny one. Makes it a little bit too dark maybe, but it does add a nice bit of atmosphere. We could enhance this glow a little bit maybe in Lightroom after as well, maybe, I don't know. But I think for this one, too dark. I think I'm just going to go for the clarity boost, clarity bump, like so. Or we can tone it down a little bit because I did think it was a bit too much. We knock these sliders down to about 50%. There we are. So that's our original, and now we just got a little bit of a boost about it. Press apply. Should we put a vignette on it? Just to draw that eye in a little bit to the tree. Lovely. Okay, so now that we're happy with that, let's try that with the vertical one that we did as well. So I'm not going to bother saving that photo for now. So File, Scripts, lower into Stack. So we're going to select our photos. It's okay. Again, we're going to have to wait for them to load up onto the stack as well. Okay, so it'll be interesting to see how this one works out because we've got a lot more white light coming through the sky up there. So we're going to invert our selection. Turn everything off but the bottom layer. Draw in our guides. And then go through and marry it the images as best as possible. That's then balanced up. So let's just jump down to there. Shift select. Drop this opacity down. Again, about 13 to 15, maybe a little bit higher. I quite like that. I don't think these trees in this version are as angled. So we might need to just automatically crop our shot. So we'll flatten this image. Because it's quite memory hungry having all these photos open. Rotate. We'll work on the original ratio. So we can see where our lines are. That's quite nice. Hue guides, clear guides, we don't want them on. Might be a little bit spew if Was that our Nick effects on there as well? Nice, but I think I prefer the landscape one. What I really love about the in the round technique is the impressionistic feel it does create. Instead of capturing this single moment, we're blending multiple viewpoints into something that feels almost like a paint on a canvas, with subtle texture and softness to it. If we look closely, we can start to notice details emerging in the ghosting, overlapping branches, repeating shapes, and textures you just simply wouldn't see in a single frame. Yet, despite all this movement, the tree remains clear and grounded as the main subject. It can be a bit complex to create, but beautifully simple in idea, and it does encourage us to see familiar scenes in a completely new way. Here are a few more images I created on the way back using exactly the same approach.